Greetings of the day, dear students. The next important topic in module number 5, the sterilization of air in hospitals, surgical theatres, virus inoculation room. As you all know, air sanitation is one of the important aspects in hospitals, surgical theatres, and the cultivation of viral room, where the air need to be sterile to undergo any process in this systems. Okay, so for an effective operation in hospitals or a virus inoculation room, the air should be completely sterile and free from microorganisms and suspended particles. So there is a wide variation in the quantity of suspended particles and microbes in the atmospheric, outdoor air and indoor air. So it is estimated that a microorganism may range 10 to 20,000 per meter cube, while suspended particle may be vary 20 to 10,000 meter cube, that is commonly present in this air system. And among the microorganisms present in the air, the fungal spores are most predominant, 50%, and gram-negative bacteria and gram-positive bacteria approximately 40%, they are dominant. Air or other gases can be sterilized by filtration, heat, UV radiation, and gas scrubbing approaches. So among all those, the heat and filtration are the most commonly used methods. So the major methods for the air sterilization is the air sterilization by heat. That is, in the early years, air was passed over electrically heated elements, and that was used for the sterilization. But it is quite expensive and not recommended for this an ideal use nowadays. Then the air sterilization by filtration, it is the most appropriate and commonly used methods. Then in common setup, we are using depth filters. When the air is passed through glass wool containing depth filter, the particles are trapped and removed. Okay, so this filtration technique primarily involve the physical effects such as the certain physical principles such as the law of inertia, blocking, gravity, electrostatic attraction, and diffusion. And these glass wool filters can be subjected to steam sterilization, and that can be used. So steam sterilization, the most important approach here we are using. But there is a limitation. And in the reuse, since the glass wool shrinks and solidifies upon the steam sterilization. So this can be replaced by glass fiber filter, a cartridge. So this will not cause the damages what is causing, like the shrinkage and solidification when we are using the glass wool filter. Then the next one is the membrane cartridge filter. That is what I have told. We can use a certain cartridge. So membrane cartridge, these are removable pleated membrane filters made up of cellulose ester, nylon, and polysulfonate. So membrane cartridge filters are smaller in size, simpler for their operation and replacement. The most important limitation or the lacuna of air sterilization is that there is no filter that can remove the bacteriophages. So you know that bacteriophages are the virus that is attacking the bacteria. So it is very, very small, and that cannot be removed by this particular methods. So in general, if you use the hospital settings or the clinical settings or the any laboratory setup, the most important is sterilization and disinfectant methods. Generally, the most importantly physical and chemical methods, this you have already studied. Mechanical methods are also in progress, like scrubbing, filtration, and sedimentation. But these are the predominant one. Physical methods such as moist, that is first one is heat. There are two types. There is different types. Okay. The moist heat, dry heat, and sunlight. Okay, then the radiation, this moist heats, that is temperature below 100 degrees centigrade, that is pasteurization, the flash process, and as well as the Holder methods. At temperature above 100 degrees centigrade, that is steam under pressure, and temperature at 100 degrees centigrade, the temperature exactly, that is at 100 degrees centigrade, the boiling, okay, and the steam under atmospheric pressure, that is autoclave, you are knowing that, okay. So dry heat method, that is hot air oven, incineration, flaming sunlight, and low temperature, red heat and infrared rise. These are dry heat approaches. So the radiation, there are two types of radiation, non-ionizing and ionizing types. So the IR and UV are the non-ionizing radiation, but X-rays and gamma rays are the ionizing radiation. The chemical methods, you are having various types of disinfectant, liquids, alcohol, aldehyde, heavy metals, dyes, Lysol, halogen, gaseous agent, formaldehyde, ethylene oxide, and many more quaternary ammonium compounds, okay. All those things you will be able to use as chemical method. So depending upon the necessity in the hospital settings, okay, so in various methods in the hospital settings or surgical theater or virus inoculation room, you will be able to use any of these particular methods, okay. Now, if you use the chemicals as the disinfectant, that is the major important approaches in the hospital and settings or surgical theaters or virus inoculation rooms, okay. The major, disinfectants are the phenols and phenolics, halogen, that is especially chlorine, iodine, alcohol 60 to 90%, the halogen, chloride, that is hypochlorite 4 to 6%, 1:50, that is a liquid form. NaHOCl, and sodium calcium hypochlorite, sodium isocyanurate, stabilized hydrogen peroxide, and glutaraldehyde. So these are the major disinfectant that can be used in hospital settings. And phenolics, if you look, the activity is membrane lipid damage. It will damage the lipid. So this is active in presence of organic matter and stable for very long use. This is advantage, and this is the disadvantage. Not effective, and that is effective against spores and non-enveloped viruses. This is the disadvantages. So here you can see the halogen, iodine. The mechanism of action is that is the lipid membrane damage, and the beneficial role, the bactericidal, the sporocidal, fungicidal, and virucidal. And the disadvantage is a prolonged contact time, okay. So alcohol 60 to 90, that denatures the protein. Alcohol acts as the lipid solvent and protein dehydrating agent. That is bactericidal. Advantage is bactericidal, fungicidal, virucidal, for it cleaves all the envelopes, okay. And this is not effective in against spores and non-enveloped virus. Ineffective on organic matters that needs to time to act and evaporate quickly, and that is very expensive also. And all those things, the halogens, okay, halogen chloride, various example we have seen. Lipid membrane damage, that is very, the merit says the advantage is very, very active against enveloped or non-enveloped viruses, algae, fungi, hepatitis B and HIV viruses. That is highly effective on anaerobic bacteria, and that is very less effective on spores that corrodes metal, that bleaches the fabrics, okay. So these are the drawbacks. Then the stabilized hydrogen peroxide 11%, that is highly effective on anaerobic bacteria, okay, and that is toxic and damages in tissues, okay. Then this glutaraldehyde, that is alkylation, the amino acid and sulfhydryl group bases, that will damage the microbial cell. This is the mode of action, that is bactericidal, sporocidal, and fungicidal, and virucidal, okay. All those activity they have. That is the drawback. They are highly toxic and needs a PPD, okay. So how will you sterilize in hospital settings, especially the operation theaters, okay. When you look the hospital setting, the operation theater is the most important settings, you know that, okay. So operation theaters or OT, okay. The methods are very, very important. Adequate practice are required to keep the operation theaters the bacteriologically safe environment. So there are two important aspects. There should be the special airflow pattern, the airflow pattern such that the filtered and purified air circulate and contaminated air should be removed continuously. Inside the special, in the room, surgical or virus inoculation chamber or hospital theater, one side the contaminated air should be removed properly and the filtered and purified air should be circulated throughout the room. This is the fundamental requirement. Next one is there is a restriction in the personal traffic. Closing of OT doors and a good ventilation system is extremely important. The number of people should be very, very less, because the personal, the presence of personals will contaminate the air. Okay, so the closing of operation theaters, their doors, and there should be good ventilation system. Okay, the next one is the standard cleaning and disinfection procedure with the appropriate chemical agents. That is very much essential. The good theatre practices are required, and there should be good discipline among the personnel they are working there, and that can be provided a microbiological adequate and safer environment. In a surgical theatre, the most important methods here we are using is fumigation. The fumigation is an old process of sterilization of any environment and operation theatres. So it is done using the formalin fumes. Formalin fumes are very pungent and harmful. So when the room is fumigated, it should be tightly closed and sealed before their use, and the room is opened after fumigation to 12 to 24 hours to evaporate all those things properly. And mainly the formaldehyde are the most commonly used agents for the high level disinfections or the surgical theatre environment. Okay, formaldehyde gas, which is generated from the liquid formalin utilizing potassium permanganate crystals. Okay, formalin, that is formaldehyde gas, is generated from liquid formalin which utilizes potassium permanganate crystals. So generally 40% of formalin liquid is added to the potassium permanganate crystal to produce the gas. So after this particular process, you should have a contact time of at least 6 to 8 hours. So once you need to keep all those things, and you need to start fumigating for about 6 to 8 hours, the formaldehyde needs to be neutralized after the process using ammonia, which allows at least 2 hours contact time for ammonia to neutralize the formaldehyde prior to the use of the theatre. So 6 to 8 hours you need to keep formaldehyde inside the theatre. After that you need to neutralize this theatre system by using ammonia, and after that can be used. So what are the steps that is required for the fumigation in the surgical theatres? Okay, first you need to seal the room with adhesive tapes around the edge of the doors or windows and ventilators and apertures. Okay, so each 1000 cubic feet of space, place approximately 500 ml of formaldehyde, that is 40% solution of 500 ml of formaldehyde, and 1 liter of water in an electric boiler. Switch on the boiler, leave the room, and the boiler will diffuse. Okay, so with the formaldehyde to the room, then seal the room for 24 hours. Then after that you need to open the door and neutralize the residual formaldehyde, as I said earlier, with ammonia by exposing 250 ml of SG 880 ammonia. This is a standard gas. Okay, so per 1 liter of formaldehyde, whatever we have used. This is the steps. Then what are the limitations when you use this formaldehyde? There are limitations. Okay, there is the aldehydes are potentially carcinogenic, and it is and it is therefore recommended. Other gases it is not recommended adequately, such as other gases like hydrogen peroxide with silver nitrate, or peracetic acid, or other chemical compounds of formaldehyde should be used in place of currently prevalent practice using formaldehydes. Formaldehyde can be used along with other chemical component that is recommended for the clinical practice. So these agents are dispersed with the aids of a fogger-like device inside the theatre environment. So that is another important the aspects. These agents, whatever we have been using, are dispersed with the aids of a fogger-like device inside the theatre environment. Then approximately the contact time is about an hour, and the theatre can be used immediately after the contact time. So if you use if you replace the conventional formaldehyde method by using hydrogen peroxide with silver nitrate or peracetic acid or any other methods, this is achievable in the operation or surgical theatres. So what are the important precaution and monitoring it is required for the adequate air sanitation aspects of the hospital and sanitary situations, especially laboratory and virus inoculation chamber. Okay, so every hospital must constitute an infection control committee. So hospital must constitute an infection control committee to monitor the events in the hospital on all matters related with the control of infection, including the air sanitation. So the entry of unnecessary personnel to be restricted into the operation theatre as everyone contribute to the infection. So the personnels are the major source of infection. So it should be restricted. Only necessary people should be allowed. A thorough washing with warm water and good detergent can bring overall improvement than mere decontamination, sterilization with other chemicals or fumigation. So a thorough washing is very, very important at this point of time. The pandemic also, the hand washing, adequate hand washing is very, very important. Always use the proper with the warm water and good detergent for the washing. Okay, then the frequent monitoring and training of medical and paramedical practitioners or staff must be carried out with a high priority than mere mechanical or chemical method. Don't just adopt the mechanical or chemical methods alone. You need to train and monitor the staff who are working in the operation room or surgical theatre. A thorough washing and carbolization, if done every day after the surgeries, will greatly enhance the safety standards and economic economicize the repeated expenditure of fumigation. So this is another important thing. The washing and carbonization, if done every day after the surgeries, will greatly enhance the safety standards and to reduce the economic aspects that is caused due to the expenditure of fumigations. Okay, then what are the other methods? The fumigation, I told you, in the old practice there are other potential methods we can use. One important aspect, the emerging components in the use for sterilization in the operating theatres are bacillocide resin. Okay, bacillocide resin, it is a newer and effective component in the environmental decontamination in the hospital surgical rooms, that is using in the most of the common hospital nowadays. It has lot of advantages aspect. It has very good cost or benefit ratio, good material compatibility, excellent cleaning properties, and they never produces residues or end product. Okay, there are virtually no residues produces. Another important thing, it has an advantage of being formaldehyde free disinfectant. It is completely free of formaldehyde, and you know that formaldehyde is having lot of problems. So that is a cleaner. This is a formaldehyde free disinfectant cleaner with a low use concentration. So a typical bacillocide resin consisting of glutarol 100 milligram per gram, okay, then benzyl C12 to C18, alkyl dimethyl ammonium chloride, that is 60 mg per gram, then decyl dimethyl ammonium chloride, okay, so that is 60 mg per gram. So these active ingredients are known as bacillocide resin. So they have a lot of advantages, that is which provides complete asepsis within 30 to 60 minutes. So you know that formaldehyde you need to keep 6 to 8 hours, but here it is half an hour to 1 hour, it is sufficient. Cleaning with the detergent or carbolic acid, that is not required. Okay, so that cleaning with the carbolic acid is not required. Formalin fumigation is not required, and you need not shut down the operation theatre for 24 hours. Okay, all those things are not required. Okay, that is another important aspect. Then the next newer and non-toxic components are known as Virkan. Okay, this is also a non-aldehyde component that can be used as the sterilization of air in the hospital settings. Okay, so this Virkan provides to be safe, that is virucidal, bactericidal, fungicidal, mycobactericidal, and newer and non-toxic components. So it is a multi-purpose disinfectant. I told you, even can be disinfectant mycobacterials, viruses, bacteria, and fungi. Then it contains oxone, that is nothing but potassium peroxymonosulfate. Then next one is sodium dodecyl benzene sulfonate, sulfamic acid and inorganic buffer, that is known as a Virkon. Okay, so it is typically used for cleaning up the hazardous spills, disinfecting surfaces and soaking the equipments. So this solution, it is used in many areas, which includes hospitals, laboratories, nursing homes, funeral homes, medical, dental and veterinary facilities, and anywhere else where control of pathogens is required. So Virkon has a wide spectrum of activity against viruses, some fungi and bacteria. So it is effective against spores and fungi than some alternative disinfectant. Okay, so it is not effective, that is a drawback. It is less effective against spores and some fungi than some alternative fungi. So this is the cleaning procedure, however you use in the hospital settings. If you wanted to clean the roof, you can use 2% of bacillocid. Okay, once in 3 months you can practice. Wall, if you want 2% of bacillocid you can use. Okay, bacillocid means we have already discussed this bacillocid resin. Okay, then if you, that is daily, you can apply twice. The floor in the hospital settings, you can use 2% bacillocide daily, twice you have to use for surgical rooms and theaters and all those things. Virus inoculation chambers. The refrigerator, the deforest and clean with the soap and water weekly once. The sink, if any washing areas or sink, soap, water or sodium hypochlorite daily you can use. Okay, the operation theater furniture. Okay, the alcohol based spray, you can spray the alcohol based spray daily once. Then AHUs, okay, and other pre-filters water once in 3 months. Okay, so this is the cleaning procedure. So this is all about the sterilization of air and hospital surgical room, etc. So that's all, dear students. We have summarized the this particular class. Once again we can summarize. Okay, so we have already discussed the introduction, that is the why this particular air sanitation is important, what are the common methods for air sanitations, and what are the general methods for sanitation and disinfection, physical and chemical features. Then use of disinfectant, how it will be done, the use of disinfections. Then the major steps in sterilization of operation theatre. This is not only for operation theatres, surgical theatres or virus inoculation room. The major step is fumigation. What are the steps of fumigation? What are the conventional limitation? What are the important monitoring and control of this particular process? Then apart from the formalin-like fumigation, what are other methods like other recent methods, the emerging components in the use of sterilization of operation theatres, other newer components like Virkon. The previous thing is like you have seen that. So the bacilloids, okay, bacillocid, so all other things, other newer and non-toxic components. So what are the cleaning protocols when you are using in a hospital settings, whether the roof or wall, floor, refrigerator, sink, okay, all those things, how will you clean, what do you need to apply, all those things. So thank you, dear students, for watching this particular class. These are the reference books. Okay, thank you for watching this particular class. If you are having any doubt, you can mail me. Thank you very much.